Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Green Impact Partners channel. We're sitting here once again with Jesse. We want to dive into a news announcement and have a dialogue about renewable natural gas. First off, Jesse, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you, Michael?
I'm doing pretty well myself. So, Jesse, kick us off and tell us about your new project announcement.
Yeah. So we announced the start of construction on our Green Gas Colorado project. Really exciting for us, and we've been working on for years now, and exciting in moving us towards our purpose of net zero Earth impact for clean energy and water. This is a negative 200 plus CI score project. We expect to be producing energy within about a year. So, and I think again, projects like this are extremely important. A negative 200 project is 15 times better than any wind and solar project, the best wind and solar projects on the continent. And we know we need more and more energy all the time. We're consuming more, not less. And so if we're not finding new sources that are actually carbon negative, we're never going to meet our carbon goals. So super important for us, and I think really important for the overall carbon footprint of society here. So
Agreed. This is something that has to happen one way or another. So it's awesome to see you guys out there in the field getting this stuff done. And speaking of what you guys' role is and what your guys' vision is, let's talk about renewable natural gas, right? Now, everybody knows that natural gas is a real powerhouse when it comes to energy, especially in the United States, right? But can you explain the difference between standard natural gas and renewable natural gas to kick us off?
yeah, so renewable natural gas is effectively taking a waste source, and as it decomposes, it creates gases, primarily methane, that seep into the atmosphere. And so what we have to do, I mean, everything that organics, most of our farm-based foods and animals, all of that is creating waste and methane waste. And so our view at Green Impact is that if we aren't going to prevent that methane, which methane is 120 times worse in year one for the environment than carbon, if we're not going to prevent that methane from seeping into the atmosphere, we can never match our carbon goals or meet our carbon goals, because we continue to get wealthier. As nations get wealthier, they consume more. They certainly start to consume more meats. And even if we create replacements, that's just been the cycle of history. So to think that we're likely going to break it in a 5 or 10 year period, it's not. I don't know that that's a reasonable thought for how we're going to do it. And I don't think society, Western society, should be saying to the rest of the world as they're developing and getting wealthier that they can't have the things that we have because we polluted too much. That might be the case, but it's just not right to do. And so we've got to do better on our side in making sure that the waste that we are creating because of our wealth and overconsumption and how we do everything isn't making everything worse. And that's what renewable natural gas does. So renewable natural gas is basically taking those waste activities, and they can be from landfills, from farms, from organic waste around your house, like all of that's decomposing. We've got some forestry waste products that we are then capturing, and we end up carbon negative because those activities are happening. You're going to eat and you're going to create waste every day. And so we're now taking that methane out of the atmosphere and creating a carbon negative environment. And the interesting thing is that a power plant can run on renewable natural gas, not even a huge percentage, sub 10%, and become carbon neutral, which so you can a gas power plant can use fossil fuels and renewable natural gas and be equivalent to a wind or solar farm, but more reliable. We don't need to add batteries, which adds to the carbon footprint on there. So, and again, don't think anyone that I'm saying wind and solar are bad. I think they're very important. I'm just trying to encourage everyone to open up to all of the things we need, because wind and solar aren't the only solution. We just can't do it with that alone. We have to be innovative, and we have to come up with great ways. And I think the single most important thing we have to do is reduce pollution from the things we do today, right? That's why electric cars are important, is that we know we need to get from A to B. We want to reduce emissions doing it. Super important initiative. We want to continue to consume food and be able to throw it out and get to the dump. And we want to consume milks and cheeses, whether they be replacements or other things. Like all of that creates methane waste, and we need to capture it. So I think projects like this that are moving us forward, and projects like some of the stuff we've got in BC on the island, and some of the projects we've got in Southern Alberta, like they're making a massive dent in that greenhouse gas emission from methane, and capturing that and putting it back into our energy system. man, in my view, like, and it's not even close. It is by a wide margin. It is 10 times more important than putting another solar farm in place. Like, get this stuff in place.
Yeah, yeah, it's really interesting how you're taking care of the waste problem as well, right? So it's a double edge, a double benefit, I would say, that you guys are involved in this, where you're actually taking the waste, and as you know, it's the waste is just going to keep going up over time as well. As you had mentioned, we're just going to keep eating more meats and so on. Population is going to grow, so it's interesting you have this plan in place with renewable natural gas. And I have a quick question when it comes to renewable natural gas. What made you focus on that, say, versus green hydrogen or some of the other alternatives that have been coming out? What was the real thing that really sold you on renewable natural gas?
Yeah, again, I think everything's important, but our true initiative and our purpose is to be net zero earth impact across our business. And um, in order to do that, we have to be using technologies that are viable, and we're a for-profit business. We're not hiding that from anyone. Like, we're here to make money. And so we continue to grow. All of that money right now gets reinvested back into more projects and achieving that initiative of net zero earth impact. And so right now, the technology and the transportation system and the consumption system, it's just not there for hydrogen, right? Like, it takes a long time. No, I'm not aware of anyone that's got a hydrogen powered car. I'm not aware of anyone that's got a hydrogen battery or hydrogen storage at their home or even at their office. So it's just the infrastructure for hydrogen is not there. And right now, you're effectively taking either wind, solar, or renewable gas and using electrolyzers. There are other technologies. So for those of you that are saying, no, you can do it other ways. Yes, I know that. And we are very interested in hydrogen, have a team dedicated to doing it, because I think it's an important initiative, but it's just not there today. It's not rationalized yet. You can't do it profitably, and you can't actually do it with the same impact as renewable natural gas. And so the way we look at things is we think it's really important to take the lowest hanging fruit and the biggest impact and do it first. And the technology exists. It's decades long proven for renewable natural gas. And so when we look at RNG and say, hey, if we don't do this, that methane continues to seep out. A 2% increase in world population would be result in probably a 6 or 7% increase in methane emissions. We can't get to our reduced carbon emissions because they're 120 times worse in that year one. Like, they're just, we can't get there if we don't do this. And so that's where it became important for us. And they're all important. And we know that we're going to have to move through the next most important thing. And we're going to have to be drivers of innovation to make sure, because today we don't have the technology as a world to go from the 51 billion tons of carbon we're creating, with that potentially going to increase to 70 or 80. If we don't do different things, we need innovation, we need new technologies. And so we take a small piece of our balance sheet, we're investing in those technologies and creating teams around doing that and ensuring that the next thing that needs to happen is happening. And so like we're also investing in peat mass technologies and soil technologies that allow carbon capture into the soil and reduction of water into it, so we can grow more and we can replace a lot of the greenhouse operations instead of using peat moss, which surprisingly peat moss is a massive polluter in just excavating it, getting it out of the ground. Like, everything we do pollutes so much that, so yeah, we know we have to be extremely innovative to get from 51 billion to zero, and we're going to be leaders doing it. RNG is the start.
Okay, Jesse, I think you did a really good job of explaining why RNG is the move right now. And you talked about some other innovating technologies as well. Thank you so much for coming on. And if anyone has any questions about anything we've talked about today, or are curious about any other part of the business, let us know. We'll happily dive into that as well. No problem. And stay tuned, because we'll get you some more news over the wire as soon as we can. Jesse, have a wonderful day.
You too. Thanks, Michael.